Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for being here. Today I'm going to be sharing just a series of different before and afters of outfits and things that I transformed. So here I'm showing a long jean skirt and a sweater that I don't really care for, and I'm just going to show you how I did something to change that. I cut the neck off of the sweater, I cut the bottom to make it cropped, and I left the rough edges, and then I cut the bottom of the skirt off and left the rough edge. And this is how it's looking after that's all done. So it's just showing how you can change something easily and make it into something that you might like better just by making a few easy updates. And here's a dress that I got, I'm not even sure where, but I have to lower the neckline. This thing is almost choking. So as you see, it's very high. So I'm just going to show how I went about lowering that and also taking the sides in just a little bit. The neckline was so high, I wanted to lower it. So I folded it in half, inside out, and I just cut this small piece off, what looked like a small piece. But it ended up making this huge impact on this. So now look how wide it is. It has a lot of material to it, and it is a size medium. So what I'm going to do is fold it in half the long way. So this is the back, the line right in the middle. I have it folded in half. I'm going to sew a line straight down all the way to the bottom, and then I'm going to cut that off, and I'm going to wrap it and make a seam, two seams actually, so it can be the thickness of this, the rest of the neckline that I have left. So I'm going to attach the new neckline that I'm going to create from the cutoff fabric, attach it to this here, and then attach it to the two sides here. This is where I sewed up the seam, and this is of course the bottom corner. So instead of cutting the whole thing, I'm just going to cut this bottom strip up to this seam here. Just take this off. This is what I'm going to use for the neck. So I'll just make this into a strip. I'll have to iron this down just so that I can have an edge, and then I'll attach this edge to this part like that, and then I'll fold it again and attach the other edge to the front so it can be almost like a little sandwich of the material. And I'm going to put the neckline of the dress in between here, and then I'm going to sew a stitch right across there. I'm going to do that 2 times, so I'm going to attach these together because I want to have a nice long band to work with, and then I'll cut off the excess of what I don't need. So this one has the additional seam in between, which makes it a little stronger because I cut it from the other portion of the dress. This one does not have a seam, so I don't want to have a seam on one side and nothing on the other side. So what I'm going to end up doing here is cutting this in half, and I'm going to attach one half to this side. I'm going to sew it on to make this longer, and I'm going to attach the other half over here. So here it is inside with the attached pieces, and there it is like that. So just gonna fold it in its place and iron it down one more time. So now I'll just take it over to the dress and connect it up. So here I'm just putting the neckline of the dress in between the folds of the band that I just made, and I'm just pinning it all around. So it's all sewed up. It's not perfect, but So I did want to just show you really quick how it looks before I try it on. That's again the neckline, and here's the inside. So now that it's on, it is billowing out like that. So I have to modify this. I'm just going to pinch this here and then flatten it down like that, so it could almost form like a slight V. And I'm going to sew it down there, top stitch there and top stitch here. All right, here it is. It's all sewed. I'm going to try to get as close as I can. This next dress I got from Shein a while ago, and I didn't like it at all when I got it, and I held on to it. So the only thing I did was take the collar off. I cut the collar off and then I removed all the buttons, and that changed it into a nice duster that I can wear with different outfits. Okay, I got this suit from Poshmark. I wanted a royal blue jacket and I ended up finding a nice suit. So I said, I'll take that. The suit cost what I would have probably paid for a blazer by itself, and the skirt is lovely. It came with these buttons here. So these are the style of buttons that were on. This was on the sleeve of the jacket, the small ones. I think there were 3 on each sleeve, and then these buttons were here and also on the jacket. I removed the buttons and I replaced them with these gold buttons that came off of this dress. And this is just a dress that I got, where did this come from? Probably Shein, maybe a while ago, and I haven't worn it. I think I wore it once and I don't really like it. And I had it in my Goodwill pile, and when I started working on this suit and I saw the buttons, I'm like, well, I have a dress, I could just take those buttons off. So these are the 4 remaining on that side and the 4 on this side, so I have 8 gold buttons I can still use. But this skirt is all set, everything looks good with that. The thing about this jacket is it fits just like a man's jacket. It has the cut of a man's jacket. I didn't really like that. So I did update one side and I need to do the other side. So I'm just going to explain what I did. I had to fix the shoulder part. I wanted the shoulder to be pushed up, like right at the edge where the shoulder blade ends, and then it bubbled, and then I wanted a lump there. So I didn't know what to use. I took the shoulder pads out. This had shoulder pads in, and it all looked too manly to me. And then I said, well, what can I do here? This part needed to be shortened, and I wanted, like I said, a lump here. So I got this juice, and I saw this lump here, and I'm like, well, I can use the bottom of this juice bottle. Drank the juice, cleaned it out, and then I cut this off, the whole bottom half, and then I cut that in half this way to make 2 pieces that look like this. So this is what this piece looks like that's already in here, and I'm going to insert this one in the other shoulder, and it's going to basically sit in there like this. So this will be across the shoulder, and this will be that lifted part right here. And what I did was just stick the needle in here, the needle that I'm going to sew with, pressed it down, and then pulled it out the other side, and then made holes all the way around to where I wanted to sew. And then that was the same holes that I went into when I got into the shoulder part. So I just folded it over like this, lined it up, centered it, and then I just sewed straight into the holes that I made, and then that was that piece. And then once it was on, as you can see, I did some little pleats there, and all I did was pull this over 2 times like this, and then I just sewed just a couple little stitches right into the line there. And then I thought it needed a little bit more, so then I just pulled another layer over and sewed that flat, which gives this effect. And it kind of has like little pleats once it's on. The other thing is that when I did that to the shoulder, this needed to be pulled in, but it ended up pulling a little too much on the sleeve, which I already thought was short. So I just cut the seam out, and I'm gonna attach something nice to this edge here. And then the last thing I did was just taper in the side just a tiny bit. So this is a seam that I added in. These seams were already there. This one I just pinched it in on the side and then just sewed in a nice little pleat on the side just to pull it in right above the pocket. So I'm going to do that again on this side. So right in here is where the seam would be on this side, and I would go from like here down to about here, and of course the pleat would go on the inside and it would be looking like that. Okay, so the last thing I'm doing before I update the sleeves, because this is going to be the very last thing, is just to close up the shoulder. So this is the shoulder pad, or these are pieces of the shoulder pads that came out of this jacket, and I cut them up because I was trying to get the perfect size, and I think I did. So this is the size I'm going to use, and I did the same thing in here, but I've already closed it up. I'm just going to do this over here. This side is open, so this is what it looks like in here. So this is going to protect that rough edge on the shoulder, and I'm going to sew it to this inside shoulder line, and that cushion will stop that, and it'll just fill it out a little bit, and then I'll tuck it in there, and then I'll just close up this seam to close everything in. And that's how I'm just gonna finish out that shoulder part.